going on, dudes and dudettes? So a lot of USC fans, especially the fans of the recruiting process, are still dealing with two of the decommitments of the five-star players from the state of Georgia and Isaiah Gibson earlier in the week, and then pretty much 24 hours later, the other five-star defensive lineman, Justice Terry, decommitted. And it just seems weird, and it did suck too, because on the On3 rankings, USC already did drop down to number 11, even though they were still up like in the top 5. But after losing just 2 guys, they're already outside the top 10, which sucks. And I think even Gibson made the comment saying that he's looking for like a true, real program to be able to teach him or get him to the next level or something like that. But as of everything that's come out since then, it kind of seems like it's always just been, they've just been driven by money, those 2 guys, because if they were just driven by money, I don't know why they decided to commit to USC in the first place, unless there's something going on behind the scenes where supposedly they thought they were going to get a certain amount of money and then they're not, or they're still only stuck at a certain level of money that they're only going to be getting once they commit, and then what looks like the team that has given them more money, because a couple of projections have come in for both players that they will be end up committing to Georgia all of a sudden. So maybe their money bags dropped a little bit larger out there once they went to go visit to the hometown team within the last week or so. So I guess that's just kind of what it is when it comes to certain five-star players out there. It does suck because you kind of hope that your team isn't the one that is losing the players, and maybe you're the one taking a couple of those five-star players away from other places. But USC has dealt with this when it comes to Oregon as well. It just hurts a little bit more because these are actually like five-star top 20 overall players in the class. And I know USC has a bunch of very talented guys out there this weekend coming up, the second of 2 big June weekends right before the dead period, to where nobody can get in contact with a lot of these recruits during July. But hoping for some good news, because I know there was another fight on emoji put out there on social media, and we still haven't heard any news about those other 2 that came from that first big weekend. All we've heard about was Hayden Lowe, and then there were still 2 outstanding ones, and now another one. But maybe there was a player that was added to the roster I'll get into later in this video. But there is also a lot of talk too, because pretty much it's everybody saying, how can USC keep the 5-star quarterback Julian Juju Lewis? And I think he did a recent interview pretty much after his pro day and all that stuff at the Elite 11, which he actually did end up winning that pro day, or was like the MVP that day. He wasn't like the main Elite 11 MVP, but when you look at whether it was 247 Sports or On3, they all had like different guys who they thought won that day. So I don't really know exactly who is the exact winner, but I guess one of those like days that they were participating was more of like a pro day style, and it looked like Lewis did very well there and ended up beating some of the other guys that are helping coach the event who are from college. Even the USC quarterback right now, Miller Moss, apparently he looked better than him already. So I don't know how much that says about USC's quarterback situation going into this fall, but I guess that's just how talented this Julian Lewis guy is. But a lot of people are saying if they can keep him and all that good stuff, and it's pretty obvious that he was committed before those guys came on anyways, and so I'm not really 100% worried when it comes to him still sticking around, because he still said he loves Lincoln Riley and USC, even as of like a couple days after the news of those guys decommitting. So maybe he is hearing some good stuff about some of those guys maybe committing, some of those top guys committing after this weekend, so it will soften the blow a little bit when it comes to recruiting for USC. But either way, yeah, looking forward to seeing how this all shapes out, because USC was riding high, and then now, of course, everybody's pouncing on them and talking crap when it comes to recruiting. But I don't know, they kind of try to be nice about it and say you would like your team to be in these fights for these recruits, because that means they're doing something good, but yet they're still talking about how bad it is that they did lose them, even though it's like, yeah, they're going to commit to some other school, but they still, if somebody else comes with more money when it comes to those guys, it seems like they're going to go and sign somewhere else, is what it seems like. So either way, like I said, looking forward to seeing how USC bounces back after this weekend. And then that future game that was scheduled, it was like a home and home series with Ole Miss with USC, and it looks like both USC and the athletic director from Ole Miss have confirmed that both of those games are canceled as of right now. I guess there's some people, a lot of people are saying that it's because of Lincoln Riley and he's too scared to play against some of the top teams and competition out there. That's why he was supposedly trying to get rid of this LSU game this year. But he also supposedly didn't know when he took the job, even though LSU was on the schedule, that USC was technically going to be going to the Big Ten. That didn't happen until like the summer after he was hired. And then I think because those two other teams, Oklahoma and Texas, were added to the SEC schedule, and it looks like the SEC is going to be going to 9 conference games, that they wanted to be able to maybe have an easier game in their schedule when it comes to the out of schedule and not their regular SEC one. So I'm assuming that's why they were mutually parting ways when it comes to this home and home series, which is okay because USC can still try to get somebody, maybe some of their old rivals in Stanford or Cal to fill in. Yeah, it's not as good of an opponent, but it's still somewhat of a rivalry that we will get to see at least once more. So we'll see what ends up happening and how they fill out the schedule for the near future. And Jahkeem Stewart, we talked about him the other day, that he was visiting USC again unofficially. I think it was Tuesday, and even worked out for them and all this stuff. And he said he loved it, and he did get a pretty good surprise towards the end of the day and of the night where ex-USC coach Pete Carroll came by and was talking with him, took pictures with him. So that was pretty cool to see. So maybe USC is trying their best to bring out the big guns and hopefully try to get one of the better, if not the best player in that 2026 class who could reclassify to 2025 as well. So hoping for the best in that situation. And that recent cornerback we talked about from Georgia, who was teammates with Julian Lewis, apparently, I think his name was Shamar Arnaud, he has already visited USC in the past couple of days since I spoke about him. So I think he already set up that visit, which is pretty crazy. But he said he always loved watching USC football when he was younger and the idea of playing in California football as well. So yeah, it looks like it was a pretty awesome visit for him. So glad he was able to get that, and hopefully we can get a commitment from a pretty talented guy soon here at some point. And it looks like there was an offensive lineman. He plays defensive line too, but his name is Joel Irvin, and he put up recently one of those graphics for like giving the praise and love towards that 2026 recruiting class. So he's just one of the next couple of guys USC recently put out there. So that was cool to see. And House of Victory had a couple signings. They did sign the wide receiver again, Mekhi Lemon, to House of Victory again, so that's pretty good for him. And they signed one of those new forwards in Chibozo Agbo, and they also signed the wide receiver transfer recently in Jay Fair. I think he was from Auburn. And they also signed one of those newer transfers as well, St. Thomas, who is considered one of the better guys that they got in the transfer portal and one of the better scorers on the team. So I guess they're already signing some of these guys that are transfers because they already know how good they're probably going to be and how much money they're going to make too. So congrats to those guys. And 2 more USC basketball players became official the other day. It was Kevin Patton Jr. and Wesley Yates III. So yeah, they became officially and signed with USC men's basketball. So that was good to see for them. And there was a 2024 California wide receiver whose name is Brady Jung, who it looks like he might have been one of those fight on emojis because he is coming to USC as a preferred walk-on. So obviously he's going to be paying his own way, or most of his own way, to go to USC for school. But that's weird because I don't really remember USC ever doing the fight on emojis on social media for PWOs, so I don't know. I'm hoping that's not the case, so I'm just hoping that we'll be able to talk about at least 3 more guys in the 2025 class that are committed or silently committed that we have not heard about, compared to one of those things being Brady. So I don't know, we'll see, but yeah, looking forward to some of the better news coming out of this weekend, hopefully. And then I forgot what it was, but they did like a compilation of how much, like, I want to say minutes played this season, or I think it was last season, or Power 5 teams in USC, because of all the guys that they had come in transfer. Their average was like 320 something minutes total played, which is obviously not too crazy to think about, just because of how many of those guys had stayed in college for as long as they did and were pretty good players on the teams that they had left. They're just looking for a different opportunity, and now they're all at USC, so there's experience when it comes to playing time, but obviously none of these guys have played with each other technically on the courts. I know they have been doing some practices right now, getting everything going right before summer and heading into the fall, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much of that veteran leadership comes out of those minutes played by those incoming transfers. And as I mentioned prior, like weeks, almost a month ago, that Juju Watkins, the women's star basketball player, is going to be throwing out the first pitch. I think it was for the Dodgers game, and then I found out that it's actually going to be Angels versus Dodgers, so that's pretty cool. It's all LA, it's all Southern California teams connected together, so that's going to be a pretty cool moment for her. So if you're a Dodgers fan, look for her out there throwing out the first pitch, or most likely pictures on social media as well. I'll try to get those on a video next week to see how it went, and hopefully she doesn't throw it off too crazy to the side and embarrass herself, but I'm pretty sure, because she's a good athlete, it'll probably be close to a strike, if not a strike as well. And USC indoor/outdoor volleyball recently got a commitment from Layli Ostovar, and it looks like she's going to be playing both indoor volleyball and beach volleyball, as I mentioned, so that's pretty cool. You don't really see that many of the volleyball players do dual sports. They kind of just do one or the other, and I think they're going on at different times too, so maybe that's why she is able to do both at the same time while playing at USC. So I don't know if she's a transfer or coming out of high school, but either way, she looks like she's a pretty talented person and player, so hopefully she will be able to help out both sides of those teams. And then one of the later things, there's like a lot of U.S. Olympic like swim trials happening in and around USC, and a lot of those people are in the thick of it, trying to get some good times to be able to make the qualifying for the U.S. and hopefully represent the country or even other countries in the Olympics starting in a couple months, or I forget if it's like a month or so, but I believe there's one swim athlete on the women's side. Her name is Mina Abraham, and she's apparently going to be representing Hungary in the Paris Olympics, so that's pretty cool. She's out of USC, so hopefully they'll be able to get a couple more athletes, not only from like track and field and everywhere else, but also from the swim team too, so have some more people to root for, just in case the US doesn't end up making the finals for some of them. Then at least I'll root on for the ex-USC, or as of right now, USC students going for the gold or some type of medaling for their country. So it'll be pretty cool to see. Thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. If I don't.